Peanut butter and jelly? Steak and potatoes? Halloween and Alice? Let's go. Everybody, thanks for joining. I appreciate it. You found your way over to the Modest Audiophile channel, and yeah, today's Halloween actually, so what better time than to talk about another Alice Cooper record. In fact, we'll talk about this one, the third studio album, Love It to Death, Rhino High Fidelity release. More on this in a second. Alright, so for today's video, real quick, we're going to go over the overall condition and packaging of this album from Rhino High Fidelity. We'll get into the tone stack. How does the bass, mids, and treble sound? We'll get into how the soundstage and imaging sounds and feels. And then we'll get into some decibel level checks, and most importantly, how this thing sounds. I'll go through side 1 and side 2, and we'll talk about some of the songs that I may have heard things for the very first time, or certainly certain things that came up and went, that was memorable, so we can talk about it today. All right, so Alice Cooper, Love It to Death. This is the third album from Alice Cooper. This was originally released on March 9th, 1971, and this Rhino High Fidelity edition was released March 14th earlier this year, 2025. All right, just like every other Rhino High Fidelity release, this one is no different. Here is the Obi. It is 180 gram vinyl cut from the original master tapes by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. Pressed at Optimal Media. Heavyweight gatefold jacket, yes indeed. Includes exclusive insert with commentary from producer Bob Ezrin. More on that in a second. And this is of the limited number edition variety to 5,000. For what it's worth, my copy is 3,068. So yes, just like every other Rhino High Fidelity, the packaging is excellent. High gloss packaging. There's the front. Here's the back. Here's the inside. What you also got on the inside, just like with every other Rhino High Fidelity release, it does come in a polyline sleeve, so that was nice. And just like with every other Rhino High Fidelity release, you do get the obligatory tape box cover. And on the inside, like I mentioned earlier, a really nice conversation with Bob Ezrin. I really enjoyed the conversation. Actually, just got done reading it again about 15 minutes ago. Good stuff. All right, let's get on to some soundstage and imaging part of the discussion. And just like most of the Rhino High Fidelity releases that I have, it is a fantastic soundstage. If you've watched this channel before, you know that I have got a pair of Super Lintons behind me. They're spread about 9 feet apart, and I sit 9 feet away. And the soundstage on this one is quite good. It reaches to about left or right of the speakers by about 5 feet plus, so almost a boundless soundstage in my room anyway. And as far as the height goes, it does go up to the ceiling and it does come down to the floor, so an excellent soundstage all around. How about the image? The image on this one is laser sharp. It really is. I've come to expect that from Rhino High Fidelity and the stuff that Kevin Gray is doing over there. And this one is no exception. A excellent image. We'll talk more about that as we get into some of the songs here shortly. The overall depth of this soundstage image is quite remarkable as well. It's projecting about a foot into the room in front of my speakers, and it goes all the way back to the back wall. So I'm getting a good 4+ feet of overall depth. In certain cases, I'm hearing some instrumentation so far back into the soundstage that it might be emanating from behind the wall, if that makes sense. So overall, great soundstage, great image, great depth. A really fun listening experience, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So how about that tone stack? Bass, mids, and treble? Well, let me just say, you're not wanting for anything. The bass on this thing is nice, warm, round, full. Fills out the room. Excellent bass. Feels like in certain songs it's bubbling up from the floor. Excellent. As far as the mids go, this thing shines with the mids again, just about everything else that I've seen coming out of Rhino High Fidelity. Excellent tonality coming out with these instruments, some great crunch, great drum sounds, vocals, organ, everything in the mid-range sounds really nice. And as far as the treble goes, again, this is no slouch either. Great air and space, you get that sense of a holographic image, the high end of the cymbals and the decay. There are certain instruments that are playing some very high notes. I call it a kid's keyboard later on, I think on side 2, and you're hearing those really well in the upper register. No problems whatsoever. A thoroughly engaging tone stack as well from bass, mids, and treble. All right, we'll do a couple decibel level checks. And first I'll say that my integrated amp is set for 68, which means it's just average. This record was not cut too hot, it was not cut too soft, it really sat well with just about everything else I had. I didn't have to touch anything on the dial. The first song I did was arguably the biggest song on this album, I'm 18, on side 1. Had a low end of 60 decibels, a high end of 89 for an average of 83 dBs. Very nice. And then the last song on side 1, I did it on Black Juju. This was quite the journey, and we'll get to that in a second, but the overall range was quite extensive with a low end of 39 dBs, high end of 90 for an average listening of 77 decibels. And lastly, a song on the second side called Second Coming had a low end of 57 decibels, a high end at 95, briefly, for an average listening of 82. So overall, had some punch, it had some smack. This was a really good, engaging, nice range. Again, the overall experience that I got from this record was excellent. Very, very happy. So before we get into the different songs and the sides, I want to mention that this album feels alive. It really does. It breathes. It's got a great engaging soundstage like I just stated. The drums are exquisite on this record. If there was one thing that was going to stand out, it was the drumming and the sounds and the space it took within the overall soundstage. It did. It gave some great punch to the chest with the snare drum and the bass drum, and excellent. Anyway, drums were awesome, and the overall experience was this is a very live soundstage. All right, let's get on to side 1. Side 1 starts with a song called Caught in a Dream. And right away, again, it kind of gives you a sense of what the rest of the album's going to come on. First thing I notice is it's a big, wide soundstage. Very nice, full. There wasn't a lot of, sometimes you get that soundstage, you're hearing stuff out to the outer reaches of it, but that's about it. There's nothing else really there except for maybe one instrument. This soundstage and this song it starts off with, the entire soundstage is at play here, and the instrumentation fills it out quite nicely. From the vocal perspective, Alice is center, and he's about 2 feet higher than the tweeters, so laser etched vocal presence right in the center of the overall soundstage. Great tones I put here in powerful drums. Again, that'll be a common theme. The drums were very powerful. So that was a great way to start the record. All right, on to song number 2, which is arguably the biggest hit on this record, and really the one that put the band on the map, and probably the reason why this record was produced in the first place, is I'm 18. And right away, what you notice is a lot of detail, a lot of crispiness, great clarity, but not at the expense of overall warmth, okay, and bass. So yes, you are getting a great amount of clarity, a great amount of detail, but you're not losing out anything as it pertains to warmth and bass, if that makes sense. Great hi-hat as well. You hear that tss, 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 not sibilants, but you hear that great hi-hat tap to really proves the overall clarity. Excellent. The lead guitar is up front and center, and it does jump again ahead of the overall rest of the image, so it is kind of playing in space a little bit. And nice clear rhythm guitar on the right too. Very easy song to listen to. I was hearing things in this song that I've never heard before, which is why I'm in the hobby to begin with. So I'm 18, excellent version of the song, the best I've ever heard. Song number 3 is called Long Way to Go. First thing I put here was excellent image, which again is pretty pervasive across the whole album. I was really blown away with how great the image was on this song. Great spacing between instruments and vocals. The organ in the background was a little bit more prevalent, not meaning it was more up front in the soundstage, but I was picking up on it quite a bit more than I had in the past. And for me, that was a new experience. Really nice. All right, on to song number 4, to end side 1, Black Juju, a 9-minute and 9-second journey. And it is a journey, but it feels like it's over in half the amount of time. Frankly, if they wanted to tack another 5 minutes onto that, I would have been just fine. But Black Juju, you can encapsulate the entire album experience as far as soundstage and imaging goes in this one song. It starts off with some tribal-like drums, and the volume's very low. It gradually gets louder until the beat of the song begins. You feel them as much as hear them. Regardless of the volume level, you are feeling that drum. Some of the most realistic drums I've heard yet on this album. Fantastic. It does have a faint organ in the background, right when those drums are coming into play as well. Separated nicely, and then you do get to hear some guitar scratching before the song really kicks in. Once the song and the drum hits full volume, the rest of the band kicks in, and then you're off to the races. Towards the 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way through the song, it does get very quiet again. Alice gets very theatrical. In fact, this song would be visions of things to come, certainly down the road, maybe with Welcome to My Nightmare. This song kind of reminded me of a little bit. But anyway, the volume comes quite down again, and Alice is out there, and he's saying all need rest, right? That section of it. Something I've never heard before were the guitar harmonics on the strings. And it's very clear on this version of the song. Never heard that before. It was really, really good to hear. Awesome song, I put. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great way to end side 1. Hey everybody, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. If this is your first time here, hey, take a poke around. You might just find something else you like. For those that have been here before, thank you. If you want to support the channel, go down there and hit like. I'd appreciate it. If you want to support it further, and you don't want it to cost you a dime, hit the subscribe button. That'll really help the channel out. And hey, you know what? You can always take it away later. That's it. Let's get back to another spooky recommendation from Alice Cooper. This is great. All right, on to side 2. Side 2 starts with a song called It Is My Body. Another one, outstanding image. I got a star next to this one. So much detail on the intro. On the left side of the soundstage, you got guitar just on the edge of breakup, a little bit of overdrive there, and it's crispy. On the right-hand side of the soundstage, you got some drums and the hi-hat. Again, very detailed there. And then Alice, just like always, the center of the soundstage, about 2 feet up. The bass is center, but it's on the lower half of the soundstage and kind of spilling out across the length of the soundstage as well. Again, awesome image. Layers and layers I put here, so you are getting a great layering approach to the overall depth in this song. Just such a great listen. The lead guitar sits about 1/3 of the way back, and that's how easy it is to discern. It's like, oh yeah, this is the lead guitar. Sounds outstanding. It's not up front in your face. It's not the most forward thing in the soundstage. Nope, it's sitting about 1/3 of the way back in the soundstage. Awesome. So easy to, again, see it with your mind's eye. All right, that gets on to song number 2 called Hallowed Be My Name. I just put here, fun song, more great image. I really liked it. Nothing more to talk about here. Just a really fun tune. Hallowed Be My Name. On to the 3rd song, which is called Second Coming. And I put another detail monster here, but again, not at the expense of the overall warmth and the bass within the song. You're still getting some high-end detail. And in this case, you're hearing a slight reverb on the piano, a little bit of room reverb there. Excellent. The vocals, I don't know if they're the best vocals on the album, but the vocals are very detailed. You're hearing every nuance in Alice's voice. And as this song ends and goes into the last song, or the 4th song, I should say, called Ballad of Dwight Fry, there's a really nice crossover. So at the end of Second Coming, you have more of that piano. As it crosses over into the next song, Ballad of Dwight Fry, you're getting another piano. I call it a kid's piano, right? That high-end the Peanut Schroeder type of piano, we'll say. But kind of a creepy child's piano, or again, maybe it's an electric piano playing very high notes. But those notes are hanging out in space. Kind of eerie, very Alice Cooper, very nice. There's a section where, again, it gets very theatrical here, and Alice is saying, "Mommy, where's Daddy?" in a child's voice. And that child's voice is moving, it's panning within the soundstage. So again, very theatrical, certainly of things to come in future albums that they'll do. But really nice acoustic guitars. It fills out the space, very nice, very clear. Still has that high piano notes, and those are ringing out as well, adding to the layers within this song. Really liked Ballad of Dwight Fry. Great listening experience, I said. All right, now the last song on the album is a song called Sun Arise. And if I didn't mention this earlier, I'll mention to it now. The overall condition of the vinyl itself was excellent. I come to expect that from Rhino High Fidelity. It was flat. There were no waves, no ripples. There was no surface noise. There's no pops, clicks, skips. Of course, I gave it a bath in the Humming Guru. But that being said, a very black background on this record, meaning just about near dead silent as you can get. I'm not going to say it's super vinyl level of silence, but it's pretty darn good. And it really shows up on this song called Sun Arise. I put black background, so then you have the instruments and the vocals being layered on top of that, really showcasing more of the overall space in the image. Excellent image I put. Great backing vocals as well. Just another song that showcases the overall soundstage and image clarity that you get on this record. Excellent. Great way to end it. And I'll say this, I didn't know I was such a fan of Alice Cooper. Grew up, right, as a cute little kid in the 70s, grew up really getting into the 80s. And I remember Alice Cooper, remember all the hits. In fact, I remember singing School's Out and all this other crap when we were on the bus as kids. But I really didn't appreciate Alice Cooper until I got Analog Productions' Welcome to My Nightmare. I did a review on that last year about this time. And that really opened up my eyes and my ears to what Alice Cooper was doing on record. All right, so what are my final thoughts on Alice Cooper's Love It to Death, the Rhino High Fidelity release from March of 2025? I think this might be a marriage made in a weird heaven. Meaning that what Rhino High Fidelity are doing over there right now with Kevin Gray and the rest of the team are really showcasing what an image can, how much of an interactive type of an experience you're having. And to do it with Alice Cooper, with that theatrical type of performance, it's just a great marriage. And this is a highly engaging listen, very enjoyable listening. Can't really speak highly enough about it. I have become quite the fan of Alice Cooper as of late, and it's because of records like this and the way they were produced. Just outstanding stuff. So yeah, if you're an Alice Cooper fan, you may want to try to get your hands on this thing. Now, I bought it off of Rhino High Fidelity's website directly. I think it was on sale earlier this year. Remember, this is a numbered edition. Normally it's $39.99. I picked it up for, I think, $35, if I'm not mistaken. I did check that site today. They're sold out. Hopefully what they'll do, just like with other Rhino High Fidelity titles, is they will come out with a non-numbered version. However, if you really want to get a copy of it now, they can be found. I found one at a store that we may all know. I'll put the picture of it right here. And again, that's for $39.99. I'm sure if you did a little bit more exploration out there, you might find a copy of it as well. So if you're an Alice Cooper fan, yeah, it's a no-brainer. This thing sounds so good. Out of all the Rhino High Fidelity titles I have, this one doesn't take a backseat to any of them. This one sounds excellent. So, with that said, do yourself a favor, everybody. It's that time of year. As we roll into Halloween and between Halloween and Thanksgiving, right? It's that time of year. Do yourself a favor. Go out there, try to find a copy of this thing. Place the order, or maybe you can pick it up in your brick and mortar location. I'm not sure, but get yourself a copy. Take it home, give it a bath, get your favorite beverage. Put this thing on the turntable. This one needs the lights down a little bit. Maybe put a candle in the corner of the room as well. Kick back and enjoy the experience, because that's what this is. This is a great listening experience. That's all I gotta say. Happy Halloween, everybody. Be well, take care until the next time. Bye.